any other, like, I've not been a guest
Okay.
or even a host on anything else really.
Are you still teaching online since the
Uh,
lockdown?
no. The last online session I did was a private for
Okay.
someone UK based, and that
Yeah.
was probably a year ago now.
Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy teaching online?
Um, I enjoyed the
Be honest.
challenge. I
Okay.
enjoyed the challenge. I suppose for me, I was still able to teach face to face outdoors, one to one.
Right.
But when at the point where there were no one to ones and it was strictly online, it was for me. It was like, okay, I'm going to enjoy the challenge and just making this work somehow. Um,
Hmm.
and to be honest, to a degree, during, I mean, everyone felt the bite of the virus and the lockdown and stuff like that. Obviously, I wouldn't want to go back to doing stuff online live, but
Right.
it helped. It helped keep the days, you know, more good than bad, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let me check and make sure that we are streaming live to Facebook and the YouTube. Okay, Mark Black is here,
Let me just
so I know we're live on
move this a
Facebook.
little bit.
All right. So in case you guys are now logging in, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel. This is Jeet Kune Dialogues episode number 235 with Suleyman Cetin, who is another one of my Facebook Jeet Kune colleagues. We've never met in person or anything, and we'd never spoken. And in fact, I was checking my records of you when
Oh
when
yeah.
I first when I first asked you to come on. You go, "What? Have you gone through everybody in the
Yeah.
Jeet Kune world?" And now it's
I thought, well, only like, you're not even into like 500 episodes and you've run out of instructors. What's going on? Is
well,
it down to me
hey,
or you? Yeah.
no, actually, the truth is, not everybody that I reach out to
Mm.
actually responds. So I'm
Okay.
going to call two names with which you should be familiar:
Mhm.
David Onuma,
Oh yeah. Malandro.
Terry Barnett.
Okay, yeah. Both very
Okay.
amazing individuals, and
Actually, here's a third one: Ewan Campbell.
Ewan Campbell. I'm not
Yeah.
okay. Well, I'm not familiar with Ewan Campbell. All respect
Okay.
to you, but
But those
yeah.
are people that I've reached out to who have never given me the time of day.
Okay, okay. Yeah. I'm sure. I'm sure. Hand on heart, there's legit reasons for it.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Of
I'm just
course,
teasing.
of
I'm
course.
I'm I'm sure I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
that I'm
yeah.
sure it is, right?
I know they're
So
busy people. I know they're really, really busy with what they're
yeah,
doing. So it's probably
yeah.
scheduling stuff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah. I for sure. So you and I had that spate of online teaching. I think we were forced to do it for a few months, and
Mm.
then we were allowed to go outdoors, right?
Yeah.
And that saved me because I like how you approached it. You said, you viewed it as a challenge,
Mm.
right? Because I did that for a little bit too. I was like, okay, how do I make this interesting? How do
Yeah.
I make this compelling, right?
Mm.
Because it was different. And then the other thing I noticed that we have in common is that we both ended up full time martial arts because the job went away, huh?
Yeah. 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 That's right.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what was that like? Because here's how it was for me. I was always asking myself, which one's vocation, which one's avocation,
Mm.
because I loved the job. I would have done the job for free. I
Yeah.
loved it. So it was always, okay, do I go as far as I can
Mm.
corporate
Mm.
and keep the martial arts as the hobby,
Yeah.
or the other way around?
Mm.
Did you go through something similar?
For me, it was. I'm going to answer your question, but I'm going to go back a little bit more.
Hmm.
Um, instructorship for me was never like an aspiration.
Okay.
Because I was like, I think one of the things you asked me earlier was about things I've overcome or challenges or something like this, right?
Yeah.
I think to my own detriment, and this is kind of like paradoxical because I'm kind of blowing my own trumpet by saying I'm too humble, all right? But I never, when I was a kid, I did karate, and even then, I was just like, I'm just training. I was never
Yeah.
like, I've got to get that next belt. I've got to get that. You know what I mean? I was like, I just wanted to go and train and bam, bam, bam. Oh, can I do this? So on and so forth. And then the first grading I did was at Marshall Street in Oxford Circus with Sensei Enoida, right? And for me, that was like oh, it's Sensei Enoida, right? And he gave me a double grade, which I was like wowed by. I was like, what? I get two belts? Wow,
Yeah.
awesome. Even then, I just continued. For me, it was just about training. Same thing when I started the JKD, until one day, I met one of Seafood David Inuma's workshops on a Sunday, and we're doing this, and we did a bit of stick sparring, and we're doing blah blah blah, 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 and then we're rounding off the year and rounding off the session, and he was like, "Yeah, you're doing well." To this person, that person, he looked, points at me, and says, "Yeah, you should think about instructorship," and I was like, "Oh, really?" And but as the years progressed, and I kept pushing and pushing and trying to get everything tight, I enjoyed the teaching,
Yeah.
and and I thought, you know what, wouldn't that be amazing to just teach? That's what you do. And what you were saying before about vocation and all that, I think I do a similar thing with the word occupation. Yeah. So like, what do
Mm.
your occupation, what you occupy yourself with is what you get your wages, what you're living from. And I was working in IT. I enjoyed, again, challenges, fixing problems. Right. I'm
Yes.
very much one of those, and I think a lot of martial artists are like that. We are problem solution type
Hmm.
people, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And so I enjoyed that aspect of it. But I was like, you know what, it would have been nice to just, you know, see, I'm a bit, until I say it, people don't know, but I'm a bit wacky sometimes. I used to do press ups and horse stance in the toilet and all this kind of stuff because I just wanted to be active. I used to take the stairs up and down and all this,
Yeah.
Um, and I was like, you know what, wouldn't it, and even when I was living back down in London, and I used to actually, when I got this job, my first IT job, proper IT job, I thought that's going to be so cool because I'm literally 5-10 minutes away from the academy, right? From
Hmm.
Seafood Bob Breen's. And
Yeah.
on occasion, I'd go over for the lunchtime boxing class and things like come back to my desk sweaty, like, oh, quick, I made it back in time, quick, log on and do some more tickets. But yeah, when the lockdown started, it just kind of pushed me on to kind of realize a dream that I had, which was, you know what, eventually, when I build up more students and the club grows, I'll drop my hours at work. I'll drop
Right.
down to 4 days a week. Who knows, 3 days a week or part time? Wouldn't that be so cool?
Right.
And then I got this notice about, well, me and quite a few others got this thing about redundancy. And it was a blessing in disguise when it synchronized with the first lockdown we had in the UK. And the government had this furlough scheme where if your job was under risk or whatever affected, the government would do an 80% of your wages, right? So
Hmm.
your job, you wouldn't lose your job. It was so employers would keep their employees. Knowing that, you know what, this is all great, but I'm not going to put my eggs into one basket and just wait for something to turn up, yeah, while this furlough is going on. So
Yeah.
I sorted out, I put my thinking cap on, I started doing the admin work and organizing things financially and logistically, and I set up the garage, which I had already started, right? Because I still had that dream, but then it just made everything fast tracked, and then I was like, do you know what? Because I was still thinking until I find a part time job independently, I'll do the teaching, so I'm still earning and the furlough stuff. And then I realized, you know what? I don't think I need to get a part time job. I think I can just do this.
Yeah.
And it's been 2 years, but even then, I still feel like it's been so drawn out, because coming back to what we were saying before, there's been so many challenges, unexpected things that have stunted the growth of the student body and the development of people, because we had more
Yeah.
than one lockdown in the UK. And then I got quite ill last year, at the end of last year, with the virus. And then unrelated to the virus, we had some problems in the family health wise, and things like that. But many other factors. But at the
Yeah.
moment, things are going, thankfully, thank God,
Yeah.
things are going well, and
Well, I'm
people are
glad. I'm glad to
progressing.
hear.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah, it's progressing, and I got some training instructors coming up. A lot of things in the pipeline that I'm working on, and
Nice.
yeah, I'm just happy to
Yeah.
be in a position where I can hopefully add to other people's happiness.
Yeah. Well, I theorized about 30 years ago, and it was only after I had theorized it
Mm.
for my students, especially for prospective students,
Yeah.
that I realized that I should use it on myself. And my theory is this: the moment that you make a decision to engage in something life changing, the universe sends you a whole heap of problems
Yeah.
to check and make sure that
Mm.
you're serious,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
Yeah. Were
You
you
know?
working?
Right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean I'm going through that right now with a client who is supposed to start with me tomorrow. And
Okay.
all of a sudden, the job says, we need you to come in
Mm.
tomorrow
Mm.
and stay for the entire morning into the afternoon because this and because that,
Yeah.
right? And it's for her, it's a brand new job. And I can feel where she's like, man, I don't even know if I should embark on this new adventure with you as well.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
feel that. Yeah. So it happens all the time. But you had said earlier that so you didn't come into it thinking one day I'm going to be an instructor. You're
No.
like, I'm here to train,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
So who ultimately was it Mr. Onuma who got you into it ultimately, or did it come about a different way?
It was you know at that point, right? I'd been to Sifu Dan's seminar, okay, in about 2004, 5, something like that. I can't remember,
Mhm.
but I think yeah, 2004, right? I remember that was the first time I went to a Sifu Dan seminar, um, and so all these people, and obviously the instructors at the academy, and I was like, isn't that so cool? Would it be so cool to be at that level
Yeah.
where you know your material, you can teach the material? That's awesome. I respected that level,
Yeah.
and found inspiration in it, um, and I enjoyed getting better. I knew I wasn't a beginner, even when I did my assessment class, right, at the academy, and yo, um, my man Terry, if you're watching, or I'll give you a shout. Uh, Afterwards, he goes, "Oh, yeah, actually, yeah, it's pretty good," because I'd had a foundation from karate, and I was always not fanatical, but I was always kicking, bah, 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 and moving. So, but then, yeah, ultimately, I think when I had a respect for the instructor level,
Yeah.
and inspiration from it, but when and I thought, but again, it was that thing of like, nah, that'll never happen, because I grew up in a council estate, all this, kind of like, uh, you know, people do this, it's not that you don't have ambition, but you kind of think, oh, well, this is where I'm from, this is my lot, as it were, type of thing. It's that lack of confidence that comes from And I've seen this. I've worked in a school. I see it with the inner city kids and stuff like that, right? But
Yeah,
then,
yeah.
and that's why I love the martial arts community, because
You,
there's so
you,
much
you know what?
inspiration.
You know why I'm smiling? I'm
Go on.
smiling because it's so British, right?
Yeah.
Because I grew up where we were told you never want to think too highly of yourself
Mm.
because there's always somebody better off and
Yeah,
there's
yeah,
always somebody worse off. So you're kind of encouraged to be happy with where you are,
yeah, yeah.
right?
But
Which is not the American way at all,
no,
right?
no, it's very British. It's very
Yeah,
British. But
yeah.
for me, it was also personal situations. I mean, I was from you know, like when I was early teens, and I mean very very early teens. My parents divorced. There was a messy stuff going on.
Yeah.
Single mum, cancer estate. You know, and to be honest, I didn't even start at the academy properly because I couldn't afford it. You
Hmm.
know, until I was doing part time when I was at college and at university, and then until things started falling into place and I was getting more independent. So there was an element of that.
Yeah,
I wonder how far things will. I wonder how good things will get for me, because
yeah.
I never had. I didn't like. Basically, I had to do a lot for myself, and no one's ever like you know, a self-made man, as it were. There's always someone around you, right? If it wasn't
Hmm.
for my mum, my sisters, and so on and so forth, and there's so many external factors, but
Yeah.
and a lot of times I felt like I was on my own, so that was one of the elements, as well as being the whole British influence of stay put, right?
Yeah.
It was also a case of like, I'm just trying to get by the day, you know.
Yes. Yeah.
Um, but then, yeah, so basically that was a turning point when Sifu David said, "Oh yeah, start thinking about instructorship." I was like, "Oh, wow, so that's in my grasp, is it? Oh, okay, okay, okay." And
Hmm.
then I went on some next level, like some focus with like getting the material, this, and then I just started thinking differently, because I always had, but I say thinking differently, um, but still in line with how I started, because I just wanted to train and get better. Because for me, it was just a case of since I was a kid, one day my dad came home with some VHS copies of Bruce Lee films, and I was watching them. I was watching them daily, and that was it. You know what I mean? And
Right.
but it was always this thing of like, yeah, how do I fight? Because it was always happening. It was
Hmm.
always happening. When I remember when we moved into the flats, then, and going up the stairs, there was a guy sat on the stairs coughing up blood. You know, so um, it was an interesting place.
Yeah.
So there was always the element of, no, how how do I fight? What do I do? You know,
Yeah.
so it was about the training for me.
Did you guys get all of the Hong Kong kung fu stuff, or just the Bruce Lee stuff, or did you get all the Shaolin movies and everything?
All of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Did you
remember.
ever did you ever try to did you ever light the candle and try to hold a horse stance for 45 minutes?
I'll tell you a funny story, right? Um, so I don't know how old I was, right? Not that old. I was a little kid still, right? But
Right.
I was still buzzing from watching whatever I was watching the day before, and I'm there in
Yeah.
the kitchen, and I'm like, my mum's there washing dishes, all right, with her back to me. I'm like, and I did like a little one hop, and I kicked her in the leg, and then when she retaliated, I realized size does matter. Not that my mum is big, but I
Right.
was a little. I'm not the biggest of men. Like, I'm average or little. I'm
Yeah.
lightweight, as it were,
Yeah.
in terms of fighting weights. But I was a little kid. I was a small kid. So when your adult mum turns around, what the heck you doing? I was like, oh, yeah, I
Yeah.
need to. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So there was no candle, this and that, but yeah, I remember all of that stuff, all the Shaolin stuff, the Shaw Brothers and
Yeah,
the
man.
Golden Harvest.
Yep.
or Master with Crack Fingers, and Snake and Crane, and all them. Was it Shaolin Master Killer? I forgot which one it was, but
Oh yeah, Master Killer, the
yeah,
whole
yeah, all of that.
36
All of that.
Chambers of Shaolin series, I think,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I've still got
Yep.
and when I was at college, I had a friend of mine who uh, David from St. Lucia, yeah, D Storm. He him and his brother, his older brother, they were well into it, and his brother literally had a wall of VHS
Yeah.
videotapes, all stacked. The whole wall was all of them films.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I was like, man, this is awesome.
What's become of them? Do you know what?
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah. See,
I'll have to
because
look. Yeah.
I'm always intrigued. I'm always intrigued by the West Indians, right? Because like you guys, so we for lack of a different expression, so we're third world, right? But we're
Mm,
still getting because we were former British colonies,
yeah,
like like Hong Kong,
mm,
we were still getting the kung fu films like you guys did. So
yeah,
I'm always intrigued to hear about other West Indians who were into martial arts,
yeah.
and I wonder, well, are they still today? How far did they go with it?
Mm,
You know
mm,
what I mean? Because off the top of my head, I can only think of four people from the islands
right.
who are still in martial art, right?
Yeah.
To this day. So I wondered about that. Now you mentioned Inoda Sensei. Was that Shotokan that you
Yes.
were in then?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right. So okay, so how does somebody who starts out in Shotokan, is it the movie influence that brings you to Inasano seminar?
No, no. What it was, because I was basically, so when I'm a kid and I want to do something, and this is the 80s. So I was born in 79. So I'm a kid in the 80s and I want to do something, and karate is everywhere. And
Yeah.
my dad, what's my dad gonna know? Oh, let me find what Bruce Lee does and where did they teach that in London. You're not gonna find that very easily in the 80s. All right. But
Right.
when my dad is he's got a very wide circle of friends, and when he's got some friends, when he's got Sensei Yusuf, who's like kicking ass in competitions and karate and stuff like this, he's like, hey, just bring him to my class, I'll take care of
Right.
him.
Yeah.
So that was how I got into karate, and then that was on and off from the age of 7 to the age of like 15, because moved house and this and that, so on and so forth. But I did it to the point of grading up a couple of times, and
Hmm.
then with college, then university. As I said, I couldn't really afford it, and by that time, by my teens and late teens, I kind of like wasn't enjoying the karate. It wasn't a fit for me, and
Okay.
I wasn't sold on how well I could use it in real life.
Ah,
Yeah. Um,
yeah. You had that realization.
yeah, yeah. No, I mean, I was one time. I don't know. There was no verbal escalation or nothing like that. At the bottom of my estates, right? Because it was like a square. And by the way, these estates that I'm talking about have since been knocked down because they were no good, and they had to be rebuilt, right?
Right. Right.
But the stairwell that went up into the flats, I'm there, so I'm literally going to go into the stairwell, round and up into our flats. But there was two kids. Next thing, I just know that there's two guys on top of me. I don't know who it was, and I shook one off, and then I'm face to face with the other, and I just do like a Mawashigiri round kick, right? And I,
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
and I just caught his arm, and he didn't want none of it, and he fled, and I chased him. I was like, no, that's not enough, right? I chased him. I gave chase, but um, and then I was like, "Oh, yeah, allow this, and I just went home. But but when I had this guy on me, I was like, well, okay, what? I shook him off easy, but what if I
Yeah.
didn't? And what if I got
Right.
like I was subdued or this and that? And then another incident where there was two older boys who were trying to, get money off us, and I was like, what am I going to do against two guys? Like, how am I going to fight two at the same time? Type of thing. So there were question marks in my mind, and then the whole stuff that you're doing was different to the sparring of it. And then I thought, well, yeah, so that's why I kind of started like drifting away from karate,
Right.
drifting away from training, because karate was the only training I knew.
Right.
And then, but as the years progressed, and then you're going to uh, anyone in the UK, North London, yeah, you're going to Tower Sports on Green Lanes in Haringey, right? And then you're seeing all the flyers in the doorway, the black and white printed ones, right? Or Shaolin Way in West End, Chinatown.
I'm gonna, when we're done, I'm gonna go look up all this stuff. All right.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No, for real. Yeah, I'm cool. I'm happy. And look, I'll chat away. I'm sorry for the people who were, I did bad. I did wrong. I had a big cup of coffee.
No, listen. Listen. My little sister and I are fascinated, right, by British TV. We watch everything. A couple of days ago, I just finished watching London Kills, right? Okay. I'm on to a series now called Suspect, and I'm actually going back to Endeavour, which is the precursor to Inspector Morse. I'm all over it, man. Yeah.
Wow. Have you watched Minder?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, that's an old school thing, and yeah, that's an old school. I was still a really little kid. One of the
actually, there's one I have on my list. I think it's WPC 56 or something. It's the story of the first female police constable.
All right. Okay.
Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I got that one on my list. I think it's because, I mean, essentially I was born British.
Yeah.
Right. So I mean, I grew up in a place that was nicknamed Little England. So so a lot of times when I talk to you guys and when I watch right. So when I talk with you guys, I feel like you're a part of me, to a certain extent, right? So you go to the first Inasano seminar, right? And then you start training with these guys.
Yeah. So what happened was I caught wind of the academy, which is so ironic, is that Hoxton Square isn't that far from where I used to live in Hackney, and where Sufi Bob Breen used to live in Stoke Newington, I went to Stoke Newington School. Okay, so but the stars weren't meant to align at that point, and so I did a 6-week beginners course with a friend of mine, right? Because I didn't feel I was a beginner, but my friend was, and so we did that 6 weeks, but that's when I couldn't afford to continue training, and that was, I think, in 2000, even 99. I think it was either 99 or 2000. But then later on, so basically officially I started at the Bob Breen Academy in 2003, and then 2004 there was the Inner Santo seminar, and I went to that because I was like, I was like, I've got to go to this. And I don't remember a single thing. Okay, I don't. Well, actually, tell a lie. If he's watching, or I haven't seen the name yet, but you may have had him on. I'm not sure. Julian. Camden Martial Arts. Right. He's a nice guy. He's a top guy. Get him on as well. But we did. And that was, in fact, the first time I did stick properly, right? So at the beginning, I was like, oh, yeah. And Julian was like, oh, cool, let's do it. And so we're doing what I know now is to be cob. And he's like, oh, you're fine. You're all right. You'll be cool. I was like, all right, cool. I just did what he said to do, and I did it. But what the one thing, and I tell this to my students and other people, is that I don't remember technically too much from that. But what I do remember is probably more valuable, and that's the immense inspiration that I got from
Mhm.
for the first time. You got to remember, like, I grew up watching Bruce Lee things and the documentaries and reading the books, and I saw, Sifu Dan and Santo talking and just so humble, so cool, and just demonstrating and talking about everything. I was like, wow, this is amazing. It's amazing. And I was like, wow, it just blew my mind. And that, you had like that light bulb moment. I had like so many, and I was like, wow, I found, I always loved martial arts, but I was like, wow, this is all I want to do. If I could just do this, if I can get paid just to train, I'd do that.
Mhm.
And so that was 2004. And then my I started training privately with Sifu David, I think in 2006, maybe earlier, but 2006 I was definitely doing one-to-ones with him. And then when I moved from London to Bradford when I got married, and officially uh, became an instructor under Sifu David in 2010, 11, I think it was. And that's when I started teaching. And then the name Hybrid Combat, um, that was, so I established that I started using that in 2015.
Okay.
And uh, teaching just, and I still am linked to an MMA gym here in Bradford, one of the most, you know, long running MMA gyms. Really, really good people there. SBG Bradford, full in Kazan,
Oh, okay.
with Spenner and Marie, and just really, really good people there. And so when I moved here, the first thing I did was look for an MMA gym, because at that point I wanted to spar more, especially with people who weren't JKD.
Right.
Because something I remember having conversations with a friend of mine at the academy, and we were talking about, and I still believe this till this day. I think an art suffers when it starts to become effective only against itself.
Yeah.
Um, I don't see JKD as being that. Um, but then everyone's got their own view of what JKD is.
That's an understatement.
Yeah, 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 for sure. But I think the best way, really, I mean, I don't really want to go into too much about what is and isn't JKD and the politics of it and that, because um, I don't know. I mean, something that I remember hearing myself say to friends or family or just people that I got chatting to when I go back and forth to Turkey, and especially in like the 90s or early 2000s, when there was a bigger disparity between the quality of
Yeah.
life there versus here.
Yeah.
What you said earlier about third world and whatever, right? Um, People say, "Oh, what's it like in England?" Because there's always that grass is greener and the streets are paved. I was like, look, where there's people, there's problems.
Exactly.
Simple as that. It's not like
Exactly.
anywhere is special and where you are is awful. And yeah, there are degrees, there's levels and there's levels, but where there's people, there's problems. Don't worry, you're
Yeah.
not missing out on too much. There's still problems there as well.
Yeah.
Um, and for example, like in Turkey, and it's not just Turkey, but like anywhere in the world, right? I don't think anyone should, obviously within reason, we shouldn't put anything on a pedestal. Be that be that, oh, America is so great, or oh, England is this. Be it even, oh, Bruce Lee was
Yeah.
blah blah. I don't think we should put anything on a pedestal, because from my own experience, when I thought of like, oh, I don't know, will I ever go to university? Will I ever become an instructor? And I don't, obviously within reason, and that comes from wisdom and experience. But when you place something at a level where it's too far beyond your grasp, or it becomes too like mystical and magical of a thing, there's no use or there's no good in that.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve you in any positive
Yeah.
way. It holds you
Yeah.
back. So yeah, that's one of my like personal gripes. I'm like, I get a little bit like a grumpy old man about things like that.
Oh no, no, I get it. I mean, is it in the UK? Is there a movement, perhaps even a trend, because there is somewhat of a trend here in the US now, where they're indicating to people that this idea that you have to go to university, that you
Mm.
have to have that 4 year college degree, is not right. So
I
people are starting slowly to wake up to that reality
No, I
here in the
remember.
States.
Yeah, see, I remember when I finished school, secondary school in
Mhm.
'95, and then I was a bit confused as to what I was going to do, and
Mhm.
I thought, well, I like computers because I was playing video games as a kid. For me as a kid, and ultimately, this is basically what I'm still doing. As a kid, I loved martial arts and video games. All right, and even till this day, if I can get the time, which is hardly ever, um, I like retro gaming. I'm not so big on the modern. I don't have consoles. I don't have a PC rig, and but retro games I like. I'll play my
Okay.
Final Fight, and things like that. Shout out
Okay.
to those that know what that is. Um, Especially with the new film out. I was playing Alien versus Predator the other day, right?
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
old arcade game, all right? Just to switch off, and like, I'm not thinking about Sinawali today. I'm not thinking about this. So I was like, blah, 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 and then went to sleep. But um, yeah, I thought to myself, okay, what if I skipped education? Would I be in
Mhm.
4 years' time, having worked my way up? Would I be in the same place as someone who had finished 4 years of education? But I've earned money along that 4 year
Right.
route, whereas the
Yeah.
person who's in education didn't earn as much and they don't have
Yeah.
the 4 years of experience. I was thinking like that, at that age, like college to university, especially when I was yeah, around that age basically. I was thinking that
Mhm.
way. And now, especially when I think UK in some ways, the British have got this stiff upper lip and we're too proud and all this kind of stuff. But I think the UK these days, and I think it's like a reflection of modern society and where we are as a civilization. It's not. It's it's shameful if you're not shameless, right? There's no such thing as shame anymore. Like, oh no, everything's on the table now, right?
Yeah.
And the UK is following the American model of make money from everything,
Mhm.
and there used to be a time when people would get a grant when they're at university. They scrapped the grants. I know that because I missed it out by a year. And
Uh,
then you had to get a student loan, right? Um, Now, the average loan that people have graduating university is insane.
yeah.
And there was a
Yeah.
time like 30 odd years ago when you weren't, what, not even that, like 20 years ago, where you wouldn't have a debt on graduation.
Right.
But America is insane. you
Yeah.
know
Yeah.
but so basically, yeah, that people are thinking, what, forget all that, I'm going to have a degree. And so many people have got that now. They've got a degree but they can't find work.
Mhm.
I've got friends and students in that position.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, people are just
Let,
trying to make things work
let me
now.
ask you this, because 15 years ago, I was very, very entrenched in the the entrepreneurial mindset, right?
Mm,
And I was attending business conferences and what have you. There was a British guy, Chris Cardell, and Chris was, to the best of my knowledge, the pioneer of entrepreneurship in the UK. In the past 15 years, has that grown? Are there people now where it's like, so for example, at these business conferences, I met millionaire roofers, millionaire plumbers,
Yeah.
millionaire carpet guys,
Yep.
right? You have that too. That's taken off. That type of thing is taken off.
Yeah. There are people across the UK who've done really well for themselves.
Yeah.
You know, there's a joke. You may have heard it, and others may have heard it, when a guy calls out a plumber, right? Because his toilet's messed up or whatever, and the plumber comes along and tinkers away, all right, less than an hour's work, and goes, all done, right? He goes, oh, brilliant. What's the damage? He goes, £600. He goes, oh my God. He goes, I'm a lawyer. I don't make that money. And the plumber goes, I know, when I was a lawyer, neither did I.
No, that one I haven't heard. That one I haven't heard. The one I have you ever heard this one? That's a similar situation, right? So the plumber comes over, he looks around, and within minutes he just hits one spot, right?
Yeah, I know this
and
one.
Then and then it's 600 pounds, and it's like, well, okay, so it's like 100 pounds to come to you, but it's 500 to know where to hit.
Yeah,
you know that one?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was gonna say definitely tell it, because I've heard it, but I couldn't remember the detail of it.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. It's like there's last joke. I'm sorry, right? There's a folk figure in Turkey, right? Who is there's wisdom in it, but it's a lot of humor. Okay, and there's a Turkish instrument called a saz. It's got like a teardrop shaped section here, and then a very thin, long fingerboard, right?
Yeah.
And it's called. His name is Nasreddin Hoja. All right, so Nasreddin is a name, and Hoja just kind of means like a cleric or teacher. And he's a figure. He's really well known. Oh, Hoja's going to play. He's going to do a performance, and so all the people gather. And he just sits there with the saz, and he holds one note. He holds one note and just plucks away. Ding, ding, ding. He plucks away, plucks away, plucks away. And then respectfully, they listen, and then they all disperse. And then one guy, brave, goes, oh, thank you so much. That was really, really cool. And he goes, but I just got one question. When other people play, their hand goes really fast up and down, and it's really busy. We didn't see that with you. And he goes, my son, see, all those other people, they're looking for the note I found. So it's similar to the plumber thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Hey, listen, in your thinking, right? In all the thinking that you do, have you ever thought about Bruce Lee's experience as an immigrant, right?
Yeah.
As a young kid, have you ever what did you think about that?
I think I know what it's like to be an immigrant. I am an immigrant. I was born in Turkey, though I was barely 3 years old when my family moved here. So I pretty much, you could not almost born, but bred here.
Yeah.
However, there's a double-sided thing, right? Because I don't look ethnic. Yeah. A lot of people think I'm British, white English, and stuff like that.
Really?
Yeah. They don't look to me and think, you foreigner, you know.
Wow.
No.
Okay.
Really. Hey, this is a suntan from the oddly good weather that we're having at the moment, right? We've had more than our 3 weeks allotted sunshine. So
sunshine, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and a lot of people say, "Oh, you don't look Turkish." I wouldn't have thought that. So, and also, I live in Bradford, there's a large South Asian community here, and a large Muslim community here. I'm also Muslim, and a lot of
Isn't it Bradistan?
That's the one. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, man, you know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is, and So like I go to mosque, or I get in a car, into a taxi, and it's a Pakistani driver, and he sees, because my name comes, you give your name, and it's all
Right.
digital now, so your name comes up because they know who they're
Yeah.
from. He goes, and they look at the name, and they look at me, they look at the name, go, where are you from? So all right, are you Muslim? And so I know what it's like to be a foreigner, but
Hmm.
not be taken or recognized initially as a foreigner. So I'm like
Hmm.
undercover brother, yeah.
Yeah. One of the reasons why I asked you is because, and we're not going to get into the politics of it, but I think that a lot of people, when you hear them carrying on online about Bruce Lee and what have you, it's almost as if they never stopped to think about what it was like for him,
Yeah.
right, as a teenager to land in this country,
Mm,
right,
mm.
and now start to build something of his own. It's almost as if they think that, oh well, yeah, everything that Bruce Lee got involved in turned to gold. Everything he touched turned to gold. And so there was never any situations.
You know what? That's the thing. What I was saying about, like, I'm from a I'm an immigrant. I came from another country, but automatically I'm not automatically recognized as someone who came over. You know, so I
Mhm.
kind of had that comfort, as it were, or that kind of advantage, you could say.
Uh-huh.
Um, but when you're by your color or whatever, you're recognized, and you're like, as someone. So I know what it's like when in conversation, or the first time someone hears your name or something like that, or when you say, "Oh, I'm not having anything because I'm fasting." Why are you fasting?
Yeah.
Well, it's Ramadan. You're a Muslim. So when it becomes apparent, the change that happens, you know,
Hmm.
and something that I recognize very early, and it happens so much now as well. You unwittingly and involuntarily become an ambassador for where you're from and what your
Yeah.
beliefs are.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
especially when you don't initially appear to be that or those things, right?
Hmm.
Even with
Hmm.
martial arts, go, oh, you're a martial arts instructor. Oh, I wouldn't have thought. Yeah, because my nose not bent, I don't have scars and cauliflower ears, and
Right. Yeah.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
6 foot
Yeah.
and jacked. So again, it's misconceptions, and that's what I found consistently. Be it my ethnicity, worldview, martial arts, whatever. You're breaking down misconceptions. You're you know you're sharing your experience to better. I don't Not that people are ignorant. I don't want to say that, but to better educate people. And for
Right.
Bruce Lee, I can imagine what it's like when you're having to prove yourself, you
Yeah.
know, um, and be an ambassador, you
Hmm.
know,
Hmm.
to a degree of what you do. He
Yeah.
loved martial arts. He lived and
Yeah.
breathed it, and he was an ambassador for that. Chinese martial arts, Eastern philosophy, you know, the Chinese Hong Kong culture, all
Right.
this kind of stuff. I know what
Yeah.
it's like to be almost like I didn't opt to be a representative or an ambassador, but also when you're there to, it's like, well, I mean, when I was at university, one of the problems I had was I studied fine art at a very good university, one of the top ones in the country. And one thing that really struck me, which was like a big learning curve for me, because I grew up in Hackney and Tottenham. I went to college and school, multicultural,
Yeah.
really mixed, and like, but when I went to university, nope, nope,
Oh,
not
really?
one. Yeah, not one. There were people, it wasn't all white English. There was people from other countries, but there was people from Japan. There was people, I think, from Korea, from Norway,
Yeah.
but not not from backgrounds that I could identify with. And even the people who were from the UK, there was no one from the inner city. there was one person from the person I got on with the most. There was a few people, so I'm not saying that it was like an isolated thing, but interestingly, the people I got on with the most, especially one person, was she's from uh, British Nigerian background,
Ah,
you know,
yeah,
and she's from inner city London, so I could connect there, But I found it odd to be so far removed from what I knew as my life experience growing
yeah,
up in London.
yeah.
It was more, and it was a bit of a class difference, I think, and I think that kind of comes part and parcel with higher education.
Hmm.
So I had to like break away from that inner city, but it was strange for me because I was commuting into Sloane Square, right, which is
Right.
high end shops and a lot of
Yeah.
people, you know, the rich part of London, and then I was going back to Seven Sisters, right?
Okay.
Um, so it was
I'm looking
interesting.
those up. As soon as we're
Oh
done, I'm
yeah,
looking
yeah.
up
No,
Sloan
do it.
Square and
But
Seven
there's
Sisters.
interestingly, I found a video of these guys who were doing. I think they're delivery people, and it's in 1996 or seven, and they've got
Uh-huh.
a video camera on the dash as they're driving around London,
Yeah.
and the radio's playing. So you got whatever was going on you got all the music from on the radio of that, and you're
Yeah.
seeing what London was like, the streets and all that kind of stuff. So it's like dash cam from 96 or whatever it was.
Hmm.
So but yeah, if you want to anything you want to look up, I mean, I remember lots of things from back in the day. But sorry, I'm sidetracking, I'm going all over the
No,
place.
no, no, no. See, because as you're talking about all that, here's what I'm thinking about. Because like I'm thinking of the multicultural adventure
Yeah,
in which people like you and I have engaged over the past decades in pursuit of martial art knowledge.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Right?
yeah.
And when I think about here in the US, right? Okay, so we got the coast, right? We got California and we got New York, right? And that's where everything happens. There
Mm-hmm.
are so many people in the middle of America,
Yeah.
deep into Jeet Kune, deep
Mm-hmm.
into Kali, deep into Silat and Muay Thai,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Because of the people that you and I follow.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
it's not something that you would expect,
Yeah,
right? Martial art as the vehicle for cross cultural understanding,
yeah.
you
I mean,
know?
yeah, yeah. It's what you said, like martial arts as a vehicle, because like what we enjoy doing, we are gonna encounter different people with that thing, whatever it is,
Yeah,
and um, you know, it's like for example, when everyone hears that I'm Turkish, they go, "Oh, you're from Istanbul," because that's what they know. They know
right,
Istanbul. Right?
right,
I'm not from. I'm not obviously not all of us are. Not everyone in the UK is from London, and not
right. There's not just
everyone.
one city.
Yeah, so.
Yeah,
But that's what I'm. So even that, you say, "Oh no, no, I'm from Yozgat." Oh, where's that? It's from yada yada yada, right?
yeah.
But you do. I think, yeah, basically that multicultural thing is great. Being multicultural, um, I think the more people mix, the better. The
Hmm.
more people mix, the better. And you do when you are because, and there will always be that case, and I'm sure there's millions of people everywhere who experience this, where, as I said, you're unwittingly becoming like an ambassador or representative,
Yeah,
and then but that also can be a blessing in that it pushes you to know your stuff.
yeah.
Yeah, I keep getting asked about this. I keep getting this, da, 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 da. And you're like, well, let me be correct in what I say.
Right.
Let me be
Yeah,
correct in what I show, and that's what it is in that. To be an instructor. I mean, one thing because I worked out in education briefly, right, for a few years, and something I learned there, which is to teach is to learn twice,
yes.
and I love that.
Yeah.
So when you get to a point where you're teaching, and it doesn't necessarily be formal as an instructor, but even in say, oh, so what's going on, in your neck of the woods? So,
Hmm.
oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
I never concern myself with that,
Yeah.
but I keep getting asked it, so maybe I should really find out.
Yeah.
So again, because when you're transferring information, you're compelled to, you know,
Exactly.
gather that information
Yeah.
properly.
I mean, Sifu Nasano told me in '83, he goes, look, you're the first person from that part of the world that's come out to see us. He goes, if you really want to get this, you got to try to show it to people when you get back home.
Yeah, yeah.
Because so you got to really buckle down and try to understand it,
Mhm.
right? And then you'll get better at it by sharing it with others.
Yeah,
So that's how you learn, right?
absolutely. And I think the thing with like Jeet Kune Do is in not many people, not everyone really knows it. It's not a household name.
Hmm.
Yeah. Um, Bruce Lee, they'll know,
Right,
right? If they know.
right.
What I do love though is there's kids, right, who know who Bruce Lee is, because their brother, uncle, dad, whatever has
Yeah,
introduced them, right?
yeah,
Um, or they're playing video games. They play the UFC game and Bruce Lee's on it and this and that. But we, you have to know what you're doing. You have to teach it properly and show like you know everything needs to be relatable. And when you teach something, you show someone and it's fun and it works, and that is going to work. That's going to keep the sparring, and it's going to keep the
yeah.
fire
Well,
burning.
yeah. It's
You know?
gotta make sense.
Yeah. So that's why. So like when you that's what I mean. When you have an opportunity to share something, um, the better you know it, the better you are at it, the more effectively you're going to communicate that, and the more well
Right.
received it's going to be, and the more it's going to continue to be relevant.
Yeah. It's like what's that the British director who was married to
Sam
Madonna
Mendes.
for a while.
Oh,
Um,
Guy Ritchie.
yeah, Guy Ritchie said to Joe Rogan, if you're going to be in the game, you could
Mm.
as well try to own the game. So if you're going to be teaching, right, you owe it to yourself, right,
Yeah.
to learn as much as you can. What I find is that there are people who, because they have the title instructor, they talk more. It's almost as if they think they don't need to listen anymore.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't need to ask questions anymore, right?
Mm.
Now it's time for them to just talk. And
You know, the thing that needs to be beaten, like I don't mean beaten as an overcome. I mean as in like needs a good smack.
a
Yeah.
good thrashing, yeah.
Yeah. On a regular basis is our egos.
Yeah,
Yeah. And
yeah.
that doesn't always happen at the hands of other people in sparring, because you can run away from that. Yeah.
Mm, mm,
I mean in the sense of like, bigging yourself up. Yeah, it's like that. Oh, I've got the black belt, or I've got this certificate, or so on and so forth. Or
yeah,
because all human beings, we have an ego. We do, right? uh, the more we tame it, the better. It's only going to benefit us to do so. um, but when you get, no one ever knows everything. There's a limit to everything. And even something that you'll find yourself going, wait a minute, what was it? Let me go back and check. Because there's different things, right? Because
yeah,
by the nature of things, like everything's kind of up and down, and you're moving along, and you find yourself focusing more on clinch at the moment, right? So then the other stuff, like your kick counters and riposte. So you think, so when you're focusing on one thing, another thing might drop a little bit.
right.
So you're always going to be moving, all right? You're never
Yeah,
going to know it all, and it's always going to be at that same level. this whole world is not one of uh, it's always in flux. Nothing's perpetual and unchanging.
Hmm.
You know,
Yeah,
but if you trick yourself into that, that's when you're going to have problems. I think. You
yeah.
know, we
But
should
you,
always, yeah,
what you just said there about things being in flux, right? See, so I hear that and I think, well, yeah, Bruce Lee said to change with change is the changeless state. And I just find that a lot of people, they just don't seem to embrace a lot of Bruce Lee's philosophy, because it's
yeah.
almost as if I embrace it, it's going to make me too open-minded. It's gonna lead me away from this particular path, and
Yeah.
I'm gonna have to open up myself to other ways of thinking, and realizing that, oh wait, well, it's just human beings, and so there's gonna be commonality in what we do because we all have the same basic anatomical structure.
Well, that's the thing. See, what I think for me, what it is that um, Bruce Lee came at a time, um, very crucial time.
Hmm.
If you know, in the grand scheme of things, a few like centuries ago or 1,000 whatever years ago, who's to say that there wasn't someone who said almost identical things to Bruce Lee?
Yes.
There's no written record because
Right.
technology was different. Now,
Right.
you try getting something deleted, you know? Okay?
Yeah. Yeah. We can
Every-
always be sure
yeah.
that in the grand scheme of things, in humanity, there's always been the radical, always, from day
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. And so when obviously he had the platform, of being in the media, and he used it. And I think you spoke before with someone about this of like social media and like I'm not the best at social media. I know technology. I edit my own videos and all this kind of. I just don't have the time, and um, I'd rather be teaching. I'd rather be training. I'd rather
Right.
have the lever on rather than have my hand on the mouse,
Yeah.
or on the
Yeah.
phone, and I've got to get the hashtag and all that. I just want to. I just want to, throw lever
I hear
or
you.
this and that. I want
I
to
hear.
teach, and
I
whatever.
hear you. Yes.
Bruce Lee had he had the best social media. He had TV shows, he had interviews, he had movies.
Hmm.
All right. So
Yeah.
because he used that well, and he was just special, of course, is why he's relevant. And what he did was he put a name and an exploration to truth, truth of combat. He didn't invent the five ways of attack.
Right.
That's just logical motion for a human body. That's
Yeah.
just logical motion for conflict, because in military warfare, it's the same thing. Um, you deal with it from a distance until you have to come to hand,
Yeah.
right? You watch whatever old school film you want to, whether it's uh, one of the best episodes of Game of Thrones, Battle of the Bastards, right? Very
Hmm.
visceral, and you know it's going to be spears, then sword, or archery, spears,
Yeah.
swords,
Yeah.
then hand to hand.
What
Um,
didn't Bruce Lee did that in Enter the Dragon?
yes,
He starts out right, and he's just going,
yeah.
simultaneous parry and
As
hit.
it got
This
as it got more close quarters,
right? But then
yeah,
he realizes there's too many of them, so he picks up the staff to try to keep them off. But
yeah,
then he realizes the staff he can't run with it, so
yeah,
he picks up double stick and runs. Right? Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so he put the exploration
Yeah.
and terminology for some of these things,
Yeah.
um, but he didn't invent it. It's like
Hmm.
we are, as a human being, we are limited in our motion, in our sizes. So we all have the same common factor. We all have the same starting point. So if your starting point is limited, then where you're going to go is going to be limited. right? Because the starting point is unchanging. So how far off are you going to branch out to? Okay, and then it's like I'm not saying that it's limited. So no, it goes so detailed, so many arts and so many
Yeah.
intricacies. But that's when you can like say, okay, what do I want to specialize in? What really speaks to me? And for me, it's self-defense because, and here's the thing, right? One of the things I'm working on is a self-defense course and instructorship for people because I've literally had phone calls, and this is something I think is important, and I really want to say about the JKD politics and whatever, right? JKD is excellent, beautiful. It gives you freedom, it gives you a good foundation, and it opens up your mind
Yeah.
to. And I love that no limitation is limitation. So I'll do whatever it takes because the fact that the bottom line is I don't. You can write essays and you can comment and you can be on the. There's this. I'll find it one. I'll put it on my channel or on my feed or something like that. Right? There's a comic and the wife is going. You come into bed and he's like, no, someone's wrong on the internet. He's typing away.
Yeah.
You can write comments and essays and books and this and that and that and that. I don't care. What it boils down to is when someone's putting a hurt on you, right? You're gonna do anything you can find
Right.
to better your situation.
Right.
Something I put on my Instagram once was something along the lines of I don't do those quote and I put my own name at the bottom of it, and I'm not even gonna quote myself properly, but something along the lines of in the heat of battle or a confrontation, right? Anything you do, any way you move your body in the direction of survival,
Right.
yeah,
Mhm.
that's all you need to do. And
Yeah.
I don't care what name you put to it, the
Right.
name of the art or the technique. When you're feeling the hurt, you'll do anything you can find to sort yourself out.
Yeah.
And that's what Bruce Lee was basically saying. And
Yeah.
I know I'm simplifying this, but for this very reason, like I've literally had people phone me, all right? Because as an instructor, you get all sorts of individuals coming to you. I've had people phone me and speak to me and say, look, I have a serious problem in that, and these aren't like, like odd people. I don't like, pigeonholing and whatever, right? Or brandishing people in any bad way, but people who would have legit concerns for their safety.
Yeah.
They might have an issue with someone, or someone has an issue with them. Police have been involved, but they say, no, there's nothing we can do. And they're like, do you know what? I don't know if I'm going to get attacked. I
Right.
don't know if someone, I've got a very real reason to fear for my personal safety. Well, I'm
Yeah.
not going to say to that person, oh, come on, let's do some chisao. Yeah. What do I give to that person?
Mhm.
Because as an instructor, I feel like I've got a responsibility to.
It is your duty. Yes.
I've got to deliver something that is applicable to that person. And what makes me laugh also, I don't want to say laugh, or I don't like laughing at anyone, but like what I find curious, when people stick and try to make rigid what is JKD, JKD isn't rigid. Yes, there's a loose curriculum and so on and so forth, right? But it should be changing as we are changing because it's been an hour maybe. Okay, so we're an hour older, we're an hour more experienced, that we've changed by an hour, we
Right.
changed by a week and a year, so on and
Yeah.
so forth, right? Well,
Yeah.
my art, how I express myself when I'm sparring, or if I had to use my body to defend my body, that should change with my age because
Mhm.
my ability, my experience, my
Yes.
limitations also change. If I'm
Right.
trying to, if I'm still trying to do um, you know, a pendulum, sidekick, head height at age 60, 70, no, something's wrong there. I should have changed
Right.
along with my body and my limitations.
Yeah.
Just because Bruce Lee did this spinning hook kick doesn't mean I should forever be able to do that to defend myself.
Right.
So, but that's why I've been putting this self-defense thing together to
Nice.
make it a more easier road. But the JKD and or the Filipino martial arts, or is still there to explore at a more long term, thing to complement what the
Mhm.
self-defense stuff is. because
Yeah.
like I said, you're going to teach someone, okay, put the gloves on, let's spar, let's move a little bit. That's more practical for someone who's like, you know what, I want to explore the art, but first I want to know how to defend myself if someone's trying to
Yeah.
hit my head off. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. Put the gloves on. We'll go back and forth and let's see what comes natural and go from there. You know what I mean? So there needs to
Oh
be,
yeah.
yeah, there needs to be a little bit of that, and I think it's a shame when we don't do that. You know, uh, because we see
I
it on online.
sometimes,
Yeah,
yeah, sometimes the problem is that somebody who's an instructor wasn't taught how to teach, and so
yeah.
doesn't know where to start,
That's a very good point what you just said there.
right?
Very good point what you just said there. Yeah, because that's one
Yeah.
of the things I'm gonna because I'm at this stage where, because things have been so fragmented, and I just have a high standard because of
Yeah.
my respect for the arts, respect for for being in a position to teach people something,
Yeah.
um, and I need to know that someone can go through and know the material and deliver the material. So
Mhm.
I'm like, well, it's going to take, that's going to be a longer road if you want to be in JKD Filipino martial arts, because as you know, it's very in depth and comprehensive.
Yeah, I
So
mean, yeah, we had a new girl in class um, last night, and we were talking, and I was, I used the adjective extensive because, I mean, look, and you can't say this in public, so you couldn't say this on a live stream on Facebook or the YouTube. But the
mm,
friggin' Kali, man, that statement that Inasano makes, that the Kali really opened up our eyes in Jeet Kune Do,
yeah,
that is an understatement.
mm, mm.
But you can't say that on a live stream in public because that's sacrilegious.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at things is like, there's what the principles of the art are, and what
Hmm.
it is at its core. Like,
Hmm.
whether it's Filipino martial arts, whether it's JKD, whether it's whatever the art may be, it's got its depths. Yeah, it's got its depths. The way I approach things is, um, when Sifu Dan was in the seminar, he was saying this about, um, high success, low risk.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
that whole thing,
high
right? So, and
probability.
I was like, man, that's, yeah, I was like, man, that's awesome. So, what is high risk? What is low risk? What is high success? What's, low success? So that became a way of like sifting through and filtering stuff for
Hmm.
me, and like what opportunity keeps coming along, what keeps presenting itself.
Yeah,
Um, so that's a really good starting point. But the whole thing of like teachers or people not knowing how to teach. So I've got some trainee instructors at the moment. That's one of the things that I talk to them about. Of like, so with me, you're not just getting material. I'm offering you like my experience of how I was teaching, what I came across, what you will come across, what I still encounter. You know, how to, don't be disillusioned by this or that. Don't, you know, all different things. Not that I'm like some, massive guru and I got 68 schools and blah blah blah, but just, whatever I have to offer, I want to pass it along.
yeah,
Like I said, any way I can, um, be of good and be of use,
yeah.
then, you know, awesome.
Well, when you have that course put together, promise me that you'll come back and we'll talk about it some more.
Oh, sure. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that'd be
Right?
cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you for.
All right, because I'm gonna let you go because it's
Yeah,
midnight 15, right over there.
yeah. I'm a night owl, and
Ah,
I'm sorry for yapping away. We could have gone so much more in depth into
no, but
Jeet
that's why you got to promise to come back
Yeah.
because
Oh,
we
hey.
haven't even spoken about curriculum.
Oh gosh, yeah, yeah. Oh, don't. Yeah,
Right? But
Yeah,
see, but that's the nature of the art, right? That's the thing about it. And like, never worry about the tangent. I'm the tangent master. I can tell you, right?
Yeah,
Okay, right?
yeah,
So never, because that's it. The tangent is just another path up the mountain,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
you know,
Oh,
right? All
yeah,
right.
yeah.
So thank you
Okay.
so much, my friend. I really
Mark,
appreciate it.
thank you so much. As I said, I was surprised when I got the invite, and I hope I didn't chew anyone's ears off, and it was somewhat entertaining or
That
informative.
that'll be their problem.
Oh, okay, okay,
That'll be their problem. All right.
yeah.
Good night, my friend. All right. I'll
Take
talk to
care.
you again.
All
Okay. Take
right.
care.
Thanks
Bye.
everyone for joining. Take care, guys. Bye bye.
All right. That's a cool guy. Okay. So that was episode 235 of the Jeet Kune Dialogues with Suleyman Cetin, Hybrid Combat UK, Facebook.com/Hybrid Combat UK. All right. So that's it. I so next week I will not be. I don't know. I know where I'll be, but I don't know what my schedule will be where I am. So I can't swear to you that I'll be able to broadcast either on Wednesday or next Friday. But definitely the following week, everything will be back to normal. And so in the interim, I'll try to put something up on Facebook and YouTube next week, but it's highly unlikely that I'll be able to do any of the live streams with you, right? So don't miss me too much, right? But that's it for today. All right, you guys go ahead and comment. I'll have Suleiman and we'll look at stuff and see if there's anything to reply to, right? So until the next episode, this is Dwight Woods, the Jeet Kune Rebel, signing off. You guys have a great weekend, and I'll see you probably week after next in a couple of Fridays or so. All right, take care. Talk soon. There we go.